My name is Dean Purdy, a Catholic priest in the parish of Lanark. They used to have a kitten mill there. A lot of people used to go there to buy kittens, I guess, whatever they made into kitten. And it's north of Perth, about 15 minutes north of Perth. I very much appreciate the invitation to come. Most people are very happy to tell their story. I'm very happy to tell mine anyway. Heidi said she titled this talk Mary and Me. It's my story, part of my story, I guess. And it takes place mostly in Cornwall. It's really my conversion to the Catholic Church. That's a miracle. And another miracle is becoming a priest in the Catholic Church. I think I was born, as was Jeremiah and most of the prophets, John the Baptist, called by God into his service before being born, okay, while in the womb, called by God to be a Catholic priest, and given by God, Mary, as mother, to encourage me, entice me, help me on my way. I was born at a very young age, I have to tell you. I was born on December the 8th. That didn't mean much to me at the time, but a little later, when a lot of Catholic kids were getting a school holiday on my birthday, so I thought I was pretty special. I was born in an Anglican family, and my mother's name was Mary, and we lived in Blackburn, next door to the Anglican Church, St. Mary the Virgin. A lot of people don't know that Anglicans honor Mary, reverence Mary, and in passing, I was the Anglican rector of St. Mary's Russell, Anglican rector of St. Mary's Navan, rector of St. Mary's North March, or next door to that. And so there are lots of Marys, St. Mary Anglican churches. And the first one I went to, of course, was St. Mary the Virgin, next door to where we lived. And that I had nothing to do with when I was born, and I had nothing to do with any of these parishes I went to. That was the bishop who sent me. But there seemed to be a constant flow of being in touch with Mary. In the Anglican Church, there are more Marian feast days than any other, so they are about 6 a year, and so you're always then celebrating Mary. And the Anglican Church says that Mary is always in the front pew, pointing at Jesus at the altar. So that's their picture of Mary, and it served me well. And I was very, very happy as an Anglican priest. But to get there, I had to go to school, of course. My mother was a Catholic, and she changed to Anglican, but all her side of the family were Catholic. So I was, from a very young age, brought to the Catholic Church to see the nativity scene, and to take part in this and that, and I had lots of cousins who would take me to church and so on. So I was not removed at all from the Catholic Church. When I was in high school, most of my schoolmates were Catholics, and I was very much attracted to the Catholic Church through them. They were just good people, fun people to be with, and they would all go to their church on Sunday, and I'd have to go to mine, which was all right, mind you, but my friends were in the Catholic Church. So there was something attractive about it, something compelling about it, which stayed with me. When I was a teenager, I really wanted to become a Catholic. Of course, in those days, you obeyed your parent. You didn't switch religion on your parent. I felt really called or struck or something. I said, okay, I won't, and I'll continue being an Anglican, and I became an Anglican priest and enjoy that life very much. The call again to be a Catholic never left. It was always there. When I was an Anglican priest in any parish, the first friends my wife and I met were because they were the Catholic priests. So they'd come over for dinner, and we'd go over for dinner, and so on. We had a very close bond. And even in a big center like Cornwall, I had Father Halley as one of the first persons I met here, and I asked him to be my spiritual advisor. And then we had dinners with Father Gary Osler and Bunch from St. Columbus there, and back and forth for our place, their place, and all that. I liked to be with Catholic. There was something about them, and one could not say what it was. It was just something. So I used to pray with the Anglicans and then eat with the Catholics, you see. and and any parish I was in, that was pretty well the rule. I did my job, and I think I did it well in the Anglican Church and so on. But I had all my friends, not parishioners, but friends were Catholic, so we would do a lot together. Any Catholic priest, probably, other than me, would say, "Well, that's grace. God was leading you on or preparing you for something." And no doubt that's true, but I didn't see it at the time. I moved to Cornwall and met Father Howley, and we belonged to something called the Marian Movement of Priests. We used to meet together and pray, and sometimes a few other priests, and consecrate our lives to Mary. He would say, "Well, how can you say that? Because it says, and I obey the Pope, and you're an Anglican priest." And I said, "Well, I obey the Pope when when I can." So I thought that was okay. But I wanted to consecrate my life to Mary. So we did that regularly. I guess because of that, Mary started to take a bigger role in my life. I headed up to my church one evening, and I met this guy, Father Howley had introduced me to a few days before, some young lad, and I said to him, walking up First Street, I said, "Hey, Jean-Guy, where are you going?" He said, "I'm going to Mass. Come along." I said, "Sure." So I did what I had to do in the church, dropped something off, I guess, and then I went with him to Nativity for Mass. I said before the Mass, they pray the Rosary, and I said, "Oh, that's interesting. I'd like to do that." I hadn't done that. I mean, I'd had a rosary here and there and seen them and so on. So I went. It was all en français, okay? And all these, 40 people at the front praying the rosary, and then more and more people came for the Mass. And I said, "Well, that was very interesting." I said, "Thank you very much, Jean-Guy, for inviting me along." And he said, "They do this every day in the morning." Something like, I don't know, 7 o'clock or something like that. And he said that I'm not a morning person. I don't go myself. I like the evening. But I tell you what, I'll go up in the morning and bring you here to Nativity tomorrow morning and do the same thing. And I said, "Okay." See, I had this little agreement with the Lord, with Jesus, with Mary. And it was rather new. It was half a dozen years old anyway, that anything that I was asked to do in the church as such, I would always say yes. I guess I felt badly when I was called to be a Catholic when I was a teenager to say no, I guess. But there was something saying that from now on, Lord, whatever you ask, whether it's you or Mary, I will say yes, if it has to do with the church. So he says, "Come tomorrow morning." And I said, "Yes." So I went. Same thing. But he introduced me to Joe Giroux and Marcel and Teresa's galore, okay? And lots of people. How do you do? How do you do? It's all in French. And they said, "Would you like to pray?" I said, "No, thanks very much." So afterwards, Joe says, "Well, come on back tomorrow." I said, "Okay, I will, but don't ask me anymore, okay? Because I'd have to say yes, okay?" Says, "Don't ask me anymore, please." It's fine. So I went back the next day, and they let me pray one rosary, or at least one prayer in English, They let me do that out of their kindness. So I did, and I was hooked, okay? Never missed another morning there for 7 or 8 years, okay? And I grew, okay? I grew. I even started to understand what I was praying. But just beautiful people, prayer for people, and I grew. Sometimes, because I had my own church to go to and all that. Sometimes, though, I'd stay for Mass if it were convenient and all that. And it was just being in heaven. So I continued, and then one of 4 or 5 conversations I had with Mary, Mary said, "You cannot come alone to this, uplifting time of prayer. And I thought for a whole day. I thought, well, who on earth could I invite to come with me at that ungodly hour? I guess it was a very godly hour, but anyway, at that early and all that because we had young kids and anyway, I thought my wife. So I'd asked Helen. I said, "Would you like to come?" She said, "Sure." So we would traipse up to Nativity. It was only 10 to 15 minutes, not that far, a walk early in the morning and pray the rosary and get back on time to get the kids breakfast, and off to school. We did this day in and day out. And then Helen started to learn to pray also, and she took her part in the group du Rosaire, and we lived happily ever after. She and I still continue to pray the whole rosary every morning together, except those odd times when someone's away. And we have done that, and we always are praying for our friends down there at Nativity as well. There was something going on in my heart at the time, and Father Holly would be available for all sorts of things, and I'd say, "Well, Father Holly, will you hear my confession?" He said, "Well, I can't hear your confession. You're not a Catholic." He said, "But I'll ask the bishop." So he'd go and ask the bishop. "Oh, sure." So and then, "Father Holly, can I receive communion?" "You can't receive communion. You're not a Catholic." So I'll ask the bishop. And constantly, I kept pushing, I guess. So from time to time, I was receiving communion in the chapel there at the hospital. And then, because I had the church in Lancaster, as well as the Good Shepherd in town, I had a regular route. And if I had Mass in the Anglican Church in Lancaster at 10, say, I'd go to St. Joe's at 9, okay, in Lancaster, and St. Mary's in Williamstown and all that stuff. I was being well fed. So one parishioner asked one of the priests out in the country and said, "How come he receives communion?" And he said, I didn't say, didn't have a clue, he's going to be a Catholic. Okay. So people knew. Sometimes you're the last to know, eh? And when I became a Catholic, of course, people said, "Well, it's not a surprise, and you always were. You're just making it official." So, going very much in love with the Lord and with Mary, and very much in love with my Anglican parishioners too. Not when I told the Bishop of Ottawa, my bishop, that I was going to leave and that I was going to join the Anglican Church, the Catholic Church, he wished me well. And then when I wanted to become a priest, I asked him for a letter of recommendation. And he wrote a wonderful letter. I said, "That's me?" A really beautiful letter, So there was no animosity or anything with the Anglicans. It was just my journey was going, continuing. And it did continue. So after I got involved at Nativity and St. Joe's, I met a lovely lady who sort of took me under her wing. She said the first time she met me, she said, "Why don't you become a Catholic?" I said, "Well, I can't do that. I'm an Anglican priest, blah, blah, blah." And she just kept saying that, and then something started, drop the penny, getting there. She was a great lady. She was always there at St. Joe's praying every morning, and she moved to Montreal now. She said, I hear you pray the rosary at Nativity. How about we're going to take two buses to Beauvoir. Have you ever heard of Beauvoir? It's a place near Sherbrooke. There's a great Marian site there, and it's Beauvoir, beautiful view in the eastern townships. So she had two buses, and she was going to take her name was Brenda. She was going to take the French one, I guess, and I was going to take the English one. So we would pray the rosary on the way to Beauvoir and look around Beauvoir and get on and pray the rosary back. And then that was fun. I liked that. And the next year we went and we got Anglican parishioners to come too, but they put me on the French bus. So I had to pray the rosary in French. So it was marvelous. And then Brenda said to me, "Have you ever been to Medjugorje?" I couldn't even say the word, let alone. She said, "Well, you should go. I tell you what, we'll make sure that you get their free gift." So I thought about it, and I asked my wife about it, and I never heard of it. Well, Don Smith, who was here, yes, he had been there and had told me something about it. So I told Brenda, yes, I'll go, but it's not good if you grow spiritually ahead of your wife, okay? Or slower than your wife. It's important that you grow together. So I said, well, I'll pay for my wife then. You can pay for me. I'll pay for my wife, and that we can go together then, so that we can grow in the same way. And it was marvelous. It was marvelous. Helen said, I said there quite out loud, and I don't remember, but anyway, she said, I said, I'm going to become a Catholic. This is too fantastic, you know. And the nice thing was we could behave as Catholics when we were over there, you know, quite openly and all that. So it was great. So I went a couple of more times. She didn't need to go. She'd been there. She'd done that and all that. But I went with a group who remained friends, and once with Father Rudy, who was a really good friend when we were both out there in Lancaster. And just praying with them, enjoying the pleasure of their company, worshiping with them, and getting together like this filled me so much, because obviously the Lord is with them, and they could touch me in a nice way. So I moved then to another parish, Smith Falls. Very sadly say goodbye to all we're doing, but it's growth, I guess. And we started over. Helen and I used to go through the streets of Smith Falls praying the rosary in the morning, trying to bring the Holy Spirit, more and more into the town. And we got involved in the Catholic Church in Smith Falls too, and I got to be very good friends of the parish priest there. He was a little suspicious of me at the beginning, and especially when I went to Mass there. It was good to be filled again. So then I thought, well, I want to become a Catholic very badly. And I told my wife that this is something I want to do. And the time came when I could. She was not ready, and that was fine. But in talking to the Catholic priest, who was by then a friend and all that, we decided that when the time came, she was ready. And so we were received into the Catholic Church. And it was very, very quiet, hush, hush. No one should know, because we didn't want to offend any Anglicans, and all that. But the church was full, okay? So, so I don't know. But so a great crowd of support. So and Helen's very active in the Smith Falls Lombardy Parish, and I was too. And it was great, being able to sit in the pew and to sing my heart out and all that. The only one who sang in the church. And then something moved me. I said, well, look, I still have a sermon or two inside there, and I still have health and all that. And they're running short of priests in the Catholic Church. I'm going to offer my services. So I spoke to my pastor, and he thought, might as well, no harm done, I guess. And so I offered my service to the church. I said that if you want me as a priest, you can have me. I'm happy to help out. And I said, I just help out, here or there, someone going on holidays or something. They say it usually takes 5 years. Well, they took 4. I had to get transcripts of every subject I took, every mark I took. I got everything through. I went to Ryerson, I went to Bishop's University, I went to Trinity College Toronto, I went to Oxford University. That took years to get all that stuff. I had to get letters of recommendation, as I told you, from my bishop and from other people and pastor and so on. And we gave the Archbishop in Kingston piles and piles and piles of paper, and they kept asking for more. And then he retired. So the new Archbishop had to go through the same stuff again. Now, I didn't have to submit it, but he had to submit it again. And so I'd pretty well given up. And I didn't mind. Like, I was only doing this as a way of offering, and they didn't have to accept. So I'd pretty well given up. But a month before he died, John Paul II signed the order, okay? And I hate to think that this had something to do with his death. The order came from Rome to Kingston, and that I could be ordained. that was very exciting. So a great contingent from Cornwall nativity group came to the ordination, and that was 3 years ago in August. And so I thought I'd help out here or there. Well, they put me in the parish of Perth as an assistant for a year, and then they put me in the parish of Lanark, which has got 3 points. Ferguson Falls, which is only open in the summer, and McDonald's Corners. So it's sort of a full-time job there. I'm enjoying it very, very much. Great people. The Lord is blessing me in every way, and I'm just so pleased to be a Catholic. I just want to conclude with just how it happened. I mentioned that I learned to say yes to God in all things, and I still do. But Mary was very much involved. I mentioned that she said, "You cannot come alone." Then I used to pray almost daily, I guess. You know, Mary, help me become a Catholic. Make me a Catholic. And she replied, quite openly, said, "You can become a Catholic whenever you want. It's your decision. It's not anything I do. You can do that. And then after a while, praying some more thing, I said, "Well, what will all the people say if I become a Catholic?" She said, "There'll be 17 people who'll have thoughts on it. I thought, oh, and I continue these conversations with her, and they're a little private now, and maybe years from now they'll be worth telling. But the big thing is that with me, the Lord never moved me too quickly. The Lord never said, "Here's a whole new life here," like St. Paul, No, just step by step by step, very, very gently, very, very kind. And I could say, looking back, very slowly, I should have been a Catholic when I was 17 or 18, But anyway, he had his plans, okay? And just very, very gently, you say, "Yes, Lord," and he moves you on to another place, and you say, "Yes, Lord," and he moves you on, "Yes, Lord," and you look back and you say, "Holy cow, did I come a long way?" But nothing startling, nothing outrageous, nothing terrifying. My brother priests in the diocese of Kingston there, they look at me, and they're very nice people. And I tell them that they don't worry, I don't get any merit. I never had to make any sacrifice for this at all, like they do, eh? I didn't. I feel rather badly. Wonder whether I should cut my wrists or something. But no sacrifice. I didn't have to give up anything. Not that I was asked to give up anything, but yet, eh? Unto whom much is given, much shall be required, our Lord says. And so, but I know with Him, whatever it is, it'll be one baby step at a time. Thank you for listening. Amen.